Good afternoon. Soccer's morning show in the PM. It is me here, you there, and thanks for hanging out on July 4th. Obviously, we got stuff to talk about. So, I know we got to talk about Andrew Gutman. I know that we got to talk about that, and I know that there's other stuff we got to talk about. We got matches tonight we got to get into with a bit of a midweek whip around. If I could get my upper plate to work, those kinds of things. So, busy day, busy afternoon. We got to go over what's going on tonight. We got juice boxes, got a lot of matches on. We got Gold Cup tonight, in addition to Major League Soccer. So let me know what your viewing habits are going to be here. What's your day like? Afternoon, Hutch. Happy 4th. So I want to know what your viewing habits are going to be tonight. How you're going to lay it out. What's your multi-screen experience? Those kinds of things. Let me know what's on your mind. But I wanted to start things off with the opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. And obviously, this will be kind of a rolling theme here today, and that's your QR code for those of you who are watching on Twitch. Don't forget to use the code Soccer down here at 15. You get 15% off your purchase, and then once again, they take 10%, roll it into youth initiatives and the youth game. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. So today being July 4th, give you a kind of a thought, give you the layout of my day. The boss got up at 5:15 this morning, and she does the Peachtree. This is her 10th. Happy 4th, Ricky. And I know that both you and the boss, Ricky, were watching the Auburn Day Takeover on the SEC Network yesterday, which ended in the Auburn-Texas A&M game, which meant that it was a late night for folks. Boss got up at 5:15 so she could leave the house at 6:45, so she could be on MARTA by 7:11, so she could be in Buckhead at Lenox Square in decent enough time to get moving for the Peachtree. And so she got in there. She was great. They kind of double clutched her group. She ended up getting off and running at 8:25. And what I traditionally do, for those of you who are watching and listening to the show on a July 4th for the first time, what I traditionally do is I will wait until I'll be watching the TV coverage. So I'll be watching the TV coverage, and when they say that the boss's group is out the door, happy 4th, Will. Sorry about the weather the other night that kept Hunt City from kicking off on time. But what I'll do is I'll watch the TV coverage of the race locally, and then when they say, well, so this group is gone, then I'll time it to where 20 to 25 minutes after I hear that her group is out the door, I leave the house, drive to the halfway point of the race, happy 4th, D. Graham, and I will take towel, water, bananas, anything that I think she might need by that point. And she could kind of do like a bit of a NASCAR pit stop on her way up Heartbreak Hill. And then that way she's on her way. And then by the time that she goes, there usually is a group of friends that are there, and they kind of hang out, and they'll give stuff to anybody and everybody who's there. And it could be different kind of liquid libation than your sports drink or straight up dihydrogen oxide. It could be an adult beverage. And there were a lot of folks that were interested in adult beverages, let me tell you. All right. And you've got, so then that happens. And then she goes up Heartbreak Hill. I go back to the house. I walk the rowdy dog. And then I come back and I'll grab like towels, change of clothes, extra t-shirt, that kind of stuff. So this morning, and we hook up with, and we kind of pair up with friends for like a late brunch, and then that way we kind of celebrate our day that way, at least to start. So this morning, I don't know how many of you are here in like inside the perimeter when it comes to the Atlanta area, but the boss got to the 6-mile mark, literally. And she'll make that left-hand turn to come down the home stretch, and she'll go downhill, and the skies opened up. Literally, the skies opened up at that point. And it got so bad that they had to call the race for folks that were still out on the course. Lightning, rain, thunderbolt and lightning, very, very frightening me, Galileo. That's what happened. They had to call the race. It was that bad. But she got in. We got to our restaurant, caught up with our friends, and that was her day. So that was her day, and she's currently probably napping after having her recovery pizza that we ordered here this afternoon. And because of what the weather conditions are, we're probably going to be having leftovers for dinner instead of cooking out. Sidebar to that, speaking of cooking out, on July 4th, and this is the other part of the opening kickoff. My question for you is, and this is your QOD, Joey Chestnut won his 16th Nathan's hot dog eating championship title belt thing. And if you don't watch it, at least for the introductions, you should watch it for the introductions. They're amazing. My question for you is, and I will give you my answer. When it comes to eating things, what do you think you'd be good enough at to be a competitive eater? What would you be enthusiastic enough about to eat competitively and think that you would be on a world-class scale of competitive eating? Because yesterday when I was watching the introductions, and I thought that I was watching this year's tournament when I was watching last year's, I mean, you had folks that were eating anything and everything. And I was like, they had a competition for this? I mean, everything from, pick your nationality of food. I mean, it was anything and everything that folks thought that they could eat competitively. They were eating competitively and were being introduced as such. And I was trying not to get sick to my stomach with all of the things that were going on. And apparently this goes back to like the 19th century. The 19th century, and you've got like all pro competitive eaters. You've got crystal square offs. I mean, Miki Sudo, Furious Pete Kobayashi before it was Joey Chestnut. I mean, Will thinks he'd be good at eating brisket. But apparently, okay, so you've got like hamburgers, hot dogs, desserts, pancakes, chicken wings, asparagus, pizza, ribs, whole turkeys. And apparently there's a vegan hot dog eating contest in Austin, Texas, which sounds kind of counterintuitive to the Texan way of things. But apparently there is an asparagus eating contest. You could be like the biggest, best, baddest ass asparagus eater on the planet. And D. Graham says he once ate 24 oatmeal pancakes on a camping trip, but it probably took over 2 hours. I think that's a little over the deadline. Happy 4th, Abby. Abby thinks that she'd be a good corn on the cob eater on a competitive level. Will, adding to it, be fun to go to a brewery and have 1 pint of every drink they have on tap. True, but you'd have to carb load to counteract it. And true, yes, Will, it is Austin. It's weird. And I didn't either, Emilio. Literally, as I'm talking about this, I'm trying to do the research on it. It says, yeah, even back to the 19th century. I'm like, what? And first recorded eating pie contest took place in Toronto in 1878. Joe McCarthy, 31 pies in 1897. Some dude named Frank Dotzler, in the book called The Art of Competitive Eating, 275 oysters, 8 1/8 pounds of steak, 12 rolls, and 3 large pies, all washed down with 11 cups of coffee by the Manhattan Fat Men's Club in 1909, which makes a lot of sense. But the fact that the Coney Island contest with Joey Chestnut, the hot dog eating contest, is 1916. Okay, but then back in 2010, apparently it was fabricated. So early 1970s. 1916 of the inaugural year has been listed, but no evidence of the contest actually exists. Major League Eating, it's like the pro league of it, 1997. The mustard yellow belt that's given to Joey Chestnut. So what would be your food of choice? Abby says corn on the cob. Will says brisket. What would it be for you guys? It's a beautiful combination of the two. And Abby, yes. The boss actually watched yesterday and 2 days ago. She watches it in real time. She watches the special super long edition of ID4. She watches like the super long version that has like added scenes and things, and she'll watch it in real time. And there's also a Twitter account that actually does tweet ID4 in real time and has done so, and they do it every year. So go on Twitter and try to find ID4 on Twitter, and literally it's done in real time, and they do it every single year, which is hilarious. And so Abby's now watching Indiana Jones, but yeah, the boss watches Independence Day. Yes, exactly. There you go, Will. Will watched Independence Day, timed it where the July 4th black screen hit right at midnight. That's the way to do it. Oh, okay. Okay, Abby. All right. Abby, so the question, you heard us talking about food, said corn on the cob to counteract the asparagus comment. Basically, if there was a food that you think you could be a national or an international competitor in, what do you think it would be? That was where the question was. And apparently there's an asparagus champion. So that was just absolutely repulsive. But yeah, I mean, Amelia, some of the smaller competitors were the ones that did the best. And I don't know how they do it. I really don't. But watching all of that on television, I know now I could not do it. I'd probably have to do it between the ages of like 15 and 18. So that was what I was doing. Saw the new, so Abby also saw the new Indiana Jones movie last Friday. And but the thing is, I've also heard where the new Indiana Jones movie is concerned, that what they've done is the way that it's structured in Rotten Tomatoes is that apparently, and I think what they do is that like release it at Cannes or something. And then if you get all the negative reactions early, then the more positive reactions come later. And then so the low grade that you see with Rotten Tomatoes now increases over time, because the reviews of the more positive reviews come when the movie going public goes to watch, and then the ratings increase. So if you see anything, and if you're swayed by these kinds of things, before the release to the public, it wasn't getting a whole lot of great reviews. But over time, apparently, it increases and the numbers increase, and you end up with all that kind of stuff. So I'm looking forward to it. I also heard that there's some stuff, that there's some really cool stuff at the end for those of you who are buffs of the series. And so read about that, and so I'm looking forward to seeing that too. But yeah, basically, Abby, don't listen to reactions. If you like movies, go see them. So that's opening kickoff here on July 4th in SDH PM. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. Once again, remember, use the code SoccerDownHere15, and thanks to everybody who has been using the code SoccerDownHere15. When it comes to Kickoff Coffee, you get 15% off your purchase. They in turn take 10%, reinvest it in the youth initiatives and the youth game. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. So now that we are into the rhythm of the show, Will wants to know, is it better than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull? I would probably say that, yeah, it probably is. So Quoting our friend Cody Runnels.
So, what do you guys want to talk about?
We'll do it more than once.
What do you guys want to talk about?
I figured you might want to talk about one thing in particular, but obviously there's a lot on the table. So whatever you guys want to talk about here for a while, got a lot of previewing to do, got a lot of juice boxes to look into. Midweek whip around for July 4th. El Trafico apparently is sold out, 80,000 strong, a new record for Major League Soccer. So for those of you who are hanging out late tonight, get to watch El Trafico, and we'll obviously watch that. But yeah, I think everybody liked the first three, Will, and everybody hated the fourth one. And then Shia LaBeouf decided that he wanted to sit there and ish all over being a part of the fourth movie. And I don't think he's really gotten a whole lot of work since, but that's just me. But tonight, in your juice boxes, we've got, actually, tell you what, first, let's get into the actual what's on TV, and we'll get into it that way. So tonight, FS1 has Canada, Cuba at 6:30, Costa Rica, Martinique at 9, Guadeloupe, Guatemala at 6:30, Panama and El Salvador at 8:30 on FS2. Tuda NA and Unimas are your simulcasters there. Gold TV, if you're interested, in about an hour and 13 minutes. The Peruvian Primera is up. If you don't have Gold TV on any of your providers or streaming services, go to our friends at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. Subscribe to Fanatis. You could have watched the U23 CAF tournament that was going on, one of the first semifinal this afternoon. You could have seen that on BN. You've got For the Fans. You've got Gold TV. You've got TIC, all those other networks available to you on Fanatis, and helps out Fanatis, helps out the show, fntz.co/soccer down here. Tonight on Season Pass, 2 at 7:30, Inter Miami, Columbus, Orlando City, Toronto. FC Dallas, DC United is at 8:30. Colorado, Portland is at 9:30. And on the free side of Apple TV, it's El Trafico at 10:30 Eastern time. All of those are 10:30, or those are 9 minutes after kick. So 7:39, 8:39, 9:39, 10:39. Unless, and I'm going to double check it really quickly, that our friends at Major League Soccer, because it's El Trafico, are going to allot and allow for a rather large, lengthy, long pregame show. And the answer is no on the free side of Apple TV. El Trafico on Apple TV, 10:39 kick. So everything is at 9 minutes after. So that's what you're staring at. On the Plus tonight, you've got 2 games in USL Championship, Las Vegas, New Mexico United, Colorado Springs, and Monterey Bay from Widener Field in beautiful downtown Colorado Springs. And on League One, Northern Colorado Hailstorm and Charlotte Independence. That's also at 9 o'clock tonight. And that's also on the Plus. Paramount Plus has one match from the Argentine Primera, Lanús and Vélez Sarsfield. That's at 7 o'clock. Once again, that's on Paramount Plus. So that's where we are. Sun shining in Marietta after storms earlier. Yeah, it was pretty nasty for a while, especially downtown. But I know that you guys wanted to kind of get into Andrew Gutman and the possibility that come the deadline, once again, anything that's announced, once again, is not officially official until the trade deadline kicks in tomorrow. There are reports, Tom Bogert, etc. Andrew Gutman is going to be traded to Colorado. And also the word is still out there about the possible acquisition of Tristan Muyumba, defensive midfielder who's been playing in Ligue 2 Guignon. 35 matches, 2 assists last year, 2,600 minutes, and it was 7 yellow cards in those 35 games. After 31 games the season before at Guignon, 3 goals, 2 assists, and then in 2021, obviously with the COVID year, 4 matches, 1 goal. National group, it was at Guignon also. In tournament play, it was 9 matches, goal, and an assist. So been a starter as a defensive midfielder the last 2 years at Guignon, 31 games in 21-22, 35 this past season. Not a whole lot of offensive numbers on the board. Like I said, last 2 seasons, 3 goals, 4 assists, and 66 matches in league play for Tristan Muyumba. But the reports that are coming out on Muyumba from Loic Tanzi, when it was started, that he released the information on Muyumba from L'Equipe. Apparently, Guignon made a counter proposal, and like I said, this is about a week old. It's the last we've heard of it. 2 Bundesliga clubs are also interested in Muyumba, including Rostock. So we'll keep an eye on all of that. But the report from Tom Bogert at The Athletic, as it is phrased by Bogert yesterday, Rapids have agreed to a deal with United to acquire Andrew Gutman. Sources granted anonymity as they're not authorized to discuss the deal publicly. Deal subject to league approval, which can't be granted until the transfer window opens up tomorrow. Vincent Destouche of the MLS Season Pass French language production first reported the Gutman to Colorado deal. And once again, Bogert also reinforced the attempting to finalize the deal, signing Tristan Muyumba. As part of the deal for Gutman, Atlanta would receive an international slot from Colorado plus allocation money, which would make sense. And that would help you in bringing in Muyumba there for the slot and the allocation money. So we'll keep an eye on that as we go. Once again, tomorrow, that's when the window opens. So as the window is open tomorrow, obviously there's going to be a lot of stuff going back and forth with players all over the place. So once again, I'm going to remind all of you, check your sources, check your sources, check your sources, check your sources. Check the number of followers that are attached to any given story, the ones that are locked into the league or your league of choice when it comes to transactions. Emilio did see the photo of Gigi posting the thumbs up and posted the photo of his Instagram, a thumbs up. So no word on any news involving the hamstring with Giacomakis, but obviously we'll keep ears out for that and continue to report on that as the team gets ready for 3 matches in 8 days at Montreal, at New England, middle of next week, back home to take on the Purple team on the 15th, is it? Is it 15th or 16th? I have to change my calendar now since we are no longer in June. Thank you for reminding me about doing that. And also, get rid of that. So since it is, yes, the 8th, the 12th, and then back home on the 15th to take on the Purple team. And so that's what you're staring at. So 3 matches in an 8-day period, and it'll be interesting to see how it all lays out for Atlanta United. We'll get into Gold Cup coming up here in just a little bit. Juice boxes, by the way, for Gold Cup. Once again, the 2 matches starting at 6:30. Canada and Cuba. Canada started out as lower than a minus 1,000. That has boosted to a minus 1,250. Your draw's a plus 951. Cuba is a plus 2134 in the composite, courtesy of our friends at Odds Portal. Hey, put some juice boxes on the draw. Why not? Also at 6:30, Guadeloupe and Guatemala. Guadeloupe is a plus 199. Guatemala is a plus 140. Draws a plus 222. We'll get into all the scenarios coming up in just a little bit. We're close to Leagues Cup at that point. Yes, it is, because after that, Leagues Cup starts on the 17th, Hutch. Sorry if I blocked the camera with my calendar. But, yeah, Leagues Cup starts on the 17th. And then you're getting into training and everything. And the first match for Leagues Cup involving Atlanta United is at Inter Miami, and that's the alleged apparent possible probable debut of some guy named Messi. Or is that Cruz Azul? Yeah, that's they're Cruz Azul. But Inter Miami, July 25th, Leagues Cup there. And then Cruz Azul comes to Mercedes-Benz at 8 o'clock on the 29th. And that's so it is after Atlanta and the Purple team, and then the Twos and OCB on the 16th, and you've got Leagues Cup starting on the 17th. So, yes, Hutch, it starts on the 17th. 3 matches, 8 days, but their first Leagues Cup match isn't for another week. So they should be in an okay recovery mode at that point. MLS tonight, 7:30. Inter Miami and Crew. Inter Miami's a plus 193 at home. Crew's a plus 129. Your draw's a plus 257. Purple team hosting Toronto. They're obviously a prohibitive favorite at minus 233. Your draw's a plus 372. Toronto's a plus 579. They've had to call up a couple players on short-term agreements from TFC2. Also, you got the 8:30s. Panama is a minus 106 against El Salvador. Draws a plus 241. El Salvador is a plus 293. Costa Rica is a minus 182 against Martinique. And your draws a plus 309. Martinique is a plus 488. 8:30. No, he has not. That is absolutely true, Nix. He has not signed officially. And so you're looking at Messi, who still hasn't signed, Busquets, and then there was also word that came out today that Iniesta for next season. Sure, just go ahead and back them all in there. Why not? Yeah, Iniesta for next season. That came out also this afternoon. So we'll see what happens. FC Dallas and DC United. FC Dallas a plus 133 at 8:30. Draws a plus 231. DC United's a plus 204. We mentioned what's going on in USL Championship with the 9 o'clock starts. Colorado Springs a minus 119 at home against Monterey Bay. Vegas Lights are actually favored at home. If you listen to our friends over at the USL show, they're sold on the Vegas Lights. Despite their record, they're better than their record indicates. It's $1 in the jar. New Mexico United's a plus 173. Your draw's a plus 248. Northern Colorado favored at home as a minus 122 against Charlotte Independence. Independence a plus 266. Then you have the Rapids at 939, a minus 101. Hosting the Portland Timbers, who are plus 266. Your draw's a plus 254. El Tráfico Galaxy, massive underdog tonight at a plus 246. And your draw is a plus 292. And LAFC is a minus 106 tonight. So that's what you're staring at with your juice boxes as we go. But we wanted to get into Gold Cup because it could go a little nuts tonight. So here's, as Will was getting into the possible permutations, here's how it's looking. Right now, obviously, A and B are done. USA in, Jamaica in, USA ahead on goal difference. So they're the top seed. They work their way through. Group B, Mexico and Qatar. Qatar got through on goal difference. Panama, Martinique, Costa Rica, El Salvador. Basically, what would have to happen is that Costa Rica and El Salvador would have to win tonight, first and foremost, to even have a chance at doing anything. So the underdogs in Group C would both have to win. But right now, Costa Rica and El Salvador are identical across the board. You'd have to get into tiebreakers and things like that. Right now, 1 point, -1 each on goal difference. So if the underdogs in Group C both win, then you could have math. Martinique would be out at that point, obviously. Panama would win the group. But if the underdogs win tonight, Costa Rica and El Salvador, Martinique is out. Costa Rica and El Salvador would have to go to math. Panama would still win the group. Group D, as Will has said, is where the fun starts. Yes, Nix, happy 4th. Don't blow off any fingers or toes. And protect your animals. Also, make sure that you keep all your animals inside. Don't let them get out of the house or the apartment or wherever you may be. Don't let them get out of your sight tonight. You open a door, they go running out. They're going to be freaked out enough as it is, and then they're going to be hearing all the noise. So keep an eye on your pets, too, tonight as we go. Yeah, rumored versus Cruz Azul. Yeah, Jesse Lingard. Jesse Lingard was the other one that was down there, but apparently that was tied to a sponsor commitment. So according to Michelle Kaufman, don't read into that one. Don't read into Jesse Lingard. That was a sponsored commit. That was a sponsor commitment that he was there. Still looking for a home. Nottingham Forest wants him back. That kind of stuff. So, Jesse Lingard was there too, but don't bank on that. Group D. Now, Will was going to have some fun with Group D. Will says, you know what would be funny? Canada went out in the group stage. If Canada wins, Guadeloupe and Guatemala draw 2-2. If Canada wins 1-0. So here's how things currently stand. Guadeloupe and Guatemala both have 4 points. Guadeloupe's ahead on goal difference. They play each other. So legitimately, they could make it trouble. If Guadeloupe and Guatemala basically just had a kickabout, and Cuba upsets Canada, or if Cuba draws Canada, but yeah, to your point, Will, about the draw from the top 2 teams. But yeah, with all this math, Canada wins, Guadeloupe and Guatemala draw 2-2 if Canada wins 1-0. But, you're kind of looking right now, you're looking at Canada and Cuba. And then it would be interesting to see what happens with Canada and Cuba and Guadeloupe and Guatemala. But Canada and Cuba. Cuba could knock Canada out. Cuba could knock Canada out of the Gold Cup in the group stage if they draw tonight. They absolutely draw tonight. So that's what you're looking at. Keep an eye on Group D. There will be chaos. Yeah, well, and that's another point, Nick. So I think, 4 players from the Cuba roster had already left the team trying to defect. Well, but like I said, so keep an eye on Group D. Guadeloupe, Guatemala, Canada, and Cuba. That's got fun written all over it. And you can't spell CONCACAF without fun or something to that extent. Looking at your schedule and all your fun facts here, and we'll get into news of the day also. But remember, today, as you get ready for the beginning of the opening of the MLS window, and we'll talk about it again more tomorrow, obviously, and we'll have our USL programming up later today. Check your sources. Check the history of those sources. Check their viability and their validity. Viability and validity. So there you go. Keep an eye on that today, tomorrow. And Abby puts your glasses on finally. All right, Miami and Columbus tonight, 7:39. 5-13-1 against 10-6-4. Inter Miami's won each of the last 2 against the Crew, including a 2-1 win April 29th in Columbus. Miami's won both their home matches against Columbus, one of 2 teams it's hosted more than once without ever dropping a point. 3 wins against Toronto. Inter Miami ended their 7-match losing streak. The 1-1 draw, first draw of the season against Austin on Saturday. Ended a run of 28 straight regular season matches without a draw for Miami. Second longest streak in the post-shootout era. Montreal had 41 from 17 and 18. Columbus has won 5 of their last 6 matches. They drew 1 following the 2-1 win over Red Bulls on Saturday. Only one of the 5 wins has come on the road, however, as the Crew have won just 2 of their last 16 away matches since mid-July of 22, drawing 7, losing 7. Cucho Hernandez had a goal and an assist in the Crew's win over Red Bulls on Saturday. Cucho had been involved in 13 goals in his last 11 matches, second only to Hani Mukhtar, who had 15 in Major League Soccer since that run began in late April. And I just had a thought as we're getting through all of the material here. In the Fantasy League, set your rosters. Set your rosters, people. Some folks have a double match week. I don't think the Jason Wright Agency and Matt Wojo have come up with a fantasy update yet, at least for today. I don't believe they have. Actually, they just did. 7 minutes ago, we do have a fantasy update from our friends at the Jason Wright Agency. Week 20 options. Lock. Steven Moreira, defender, at 8.5. Only 4% have him in. Boss made it. Nick's boss made it. Survived. Got her T-shirt. Got soaked. So she did survive. Absolutely did survive. And we're very, very proud of her for that. Your lock in midfield and forward, Cucho. At Miami and against NYC, 19% of the folks have picked Cucho so far. Consider Pedro Gallese in net. Abby, I think it was Instagram. 8.3 against Toronto and RSL at 5%. Consider Facundo Torres, who is at 10.4 in the midfield, averaging 11 points per game in the last 4 matches. Must have, especially during a week, during such surefire midfield options. Value pick Tavon Gray for NYC at 4.0 versus Charlotte, and at Columbus, only 1% have Tavon Gray. Preston Judd at forward at 4.7 for LAG. Only 1% have Judd. 2 goals in his last 3 matches, 2 chances to bag another, which is all you'll need for him to return value. But remember, it's against LAFC and against Philly. So, fantasy league options. Steven Moreira in a double match week. Cucho Hernandez. Consider Gallese, Facundo Torres, value pick Tavon Gray, Preston Judd. So that's your fantasy notes, courtesy of our friends at the Jason Wright Agency. Jason Wright with a W-A-G-E-N on Twitter. Jason Wright Agency on Facebook. Jason Wright with a W on LinkedIn. Matt Wojteko at Matt_Wojo on the Twitters is the expert here. So don't forget to set your fantasy teams before kick tonight if you want the teams that are in double match weeks. So keep an eye on that. Set your fantasy, set your fantasy, set your fantasy. Now that I have my fantasy roster up, I can do exactly that. So that's your notes on Miami and Columbus. I'm going Columbus. I'm also going purple team tonight, although it's on season pass. Once again, I'm not putting anything on it myself. Purple team's unbeaten in their last 6 against Toronto, including winning both meetings last season. Lions had never gone unbeaten in 7 straight against a single opponent in the club's MLS history. Purple team's lost only once of their last 10, including going unbeaten in 6 straight at home, winning 3, drawing 3. Hasn't recorded a longer home unbeaten run in MLS play since 9 without a loss in 2020, where they won 6 and drew 3. Toronto is winless in 13 straight away matches, losing 9. 2 wins in their last 35 on the road. 3 straight draws in March and April, just 1 point from their last 6 away from home. Remember what we're talking about with Gallese and Facundo Torres? Facundo Torres scored 2 of their 3 goals in the win over Chicago Saturday, contributed to multiple goals, 3 of his last 4 matches, after doing so 3 times in his first 46 appearances. Toronto conceded the lone goal of their match at 90+2 against RSL to Anderson Julio. 3rd time this season they've conceded a match-winning goal in stoppage time. Orlando. Dallas and D.C. Toyota Stadium, 8-7-5, welcomes 7-9-5. First meeting between FC Dallas and DC United in exactly 4 years since Dallas won 2-0 on July 4th of 2019. Dallas is unbeaten in 8 straight at home against DC, winning 6, drawing 2. DC's last win in Dallas coming in September of 2007. September of 2007. FC Dallas has won 6 of its last 9 home matches, including 2-0 wins in each of their last 2 at Toyota Stadium. Dallas has not kept 3 straight home clean sheets since May to July of 2015. Haven't recorded 3 straight shutout wins at home since 2013. DC's only won 3 of their last 11, losing 5. DC's lost 3 of their last 4 after losing just 2 of their previous 10. Sam Junkwa's 90th minute strike on Saturday, the first time FC Dallas has scored a goal from outside the box this season. FCD's attempted only 72 shots from outside the box, with only Charlotte and Chicago taking fewer. Half of Christian Benteke's 4 attempts on Saturday against Nashville were headers. He's attempted 24 headers this season, 11 more than any other MLS player, though only 5 of them have been on target. Christian Benteke fantasy note. Colorado and Portland at 9:39. 2-10-8 versus 5-9-7, and Colorado's favored. Okay. Colorado's lost only 2 of 14 regular season home matches against the Timbers, winning 8, including a 2-0 win last April. Rapids have scored at least twice on 11 of those 14, including each of the last 5. 26th time in 28 MLS seasons, the Rapids have hosted a match on Independence Day, only not doing so in 2011 and 2020. Colorado won 10 of their first 11 on the 4th of July, but have only won 3 of their last 14, going winless in the last 6. Timbers have won only 1 of their last 9 in MLS, drawing and losing 4 each, failing to score more than 1 goal in any of those matches. 9 straight regular season games without multiple goals is the longest such streak in team history. Rapids have collected 2 points from their last 9 MLS matches, failing to score in 6 of them, including the last 4 in a row. Colorado's gone 5 straight regular season games without a goal in single season, just once in club history in 1999. Frank Boley scored Portland's lone goal in the defeat to Minnesota. Has now scored 4 of the Timbers' last 5. No Timbers player other than Boley and Evander has scored a goal in any of Portland's last 10 MLS matches. Yeesh. Draw. God can't trust Colorado. I really can't. And then El Tráfico, once again, 80,000 folks. 3-9-7, hosting 9-5-5 in front of 80,000 at the Rose Bowl. This was supposed to kick off the season, remember, but then because of the weather, pushed it to July 4th, and it's a late game. LAFC's won 3 straight against the Galaxy, including playoffs after winning only 3 of the first 14. 4.47 goals per match in the 17 meetings between the sides, second most of any matchup in league history with a minimum of 10 games. Galaxy have drawn 4 straight MLS matches for the second time in club history. They did 5 in May of 2009. LA's 3 wins this season equal their fewest after 19 matches of a season, 2007. Fewer than 16 points at this stage only once, 14, also in 2007. LAFC's lost 7 of 10 in all competitions. Following the loss to FCD, LAFC had lost 3 of its previous 26 from last September until the run began in May. Douglas Costa has 4 assists in his last 4 matches, including the primary assist on both the Galaxy goals and the Cali Classico on Saturday. First Galaxy player with 2 direct goal involvements in a match this season. No, Knicks, they're not. Vela has scored 12 goals in 13 matches against the Galaxy in all competitions, most by any player against a single opponent in all competitions since LAFC joined MLS in 2018. Vela scored multiple goals 4 times against the Galaxy, including in his last game against them in April. And remember, we also have a match tomorrow, NYC and Charlotte. Remember when Jessica Charman was on the show, she said the next match that Charlotte is going to be at Citi Field. So there you go. It's on Season Pass tomorrow. Remember, this one's on the free side of Apple TV. El Tráfico tonight, free side of Apple TV at 10:30. Citi Field tomorrow, NYC and Charlotte. Fix your fantasy rosters now, or at least in the next 3 hours and 40 minutes or so. So that's your rundown of what's going on in Major League Soccer. Like I said, we can talk about anything that's on your mind. And we can talk about gossip, rumor, and innuendo. It appears that Mason Mount has sent a heartfelt video to Chelsea supporters saying that he's joined Manchester United. So Mason Mount is now heading to Manchester United. So that is officially broken news, however you want to lay it out. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo from an international point. Bayern Munich planning to make a second offer to Spurs for Harry Kane. Manchester City preparing their opening bid for Josko Vardiol after beginning talks with RB Leipzig. Jordan Henderson and Chelsea's Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, two of the possible signings lined up for Al Ettifaq after they appointed Steven Gerrard as their new manager yesterday. That's from the four-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. PSG pushing to beat Chelsea, Liverpool, and Manchester City to the signing of Celta de Vigo's Gabri Vega. Chelsea have held talks with Southampton over a potential deal over Tino Livramento. Southampton value him at £38 million. Jeez. The overstock and over self-evaluation of Premier League and Championship talent. That's also from the four-letter paper. Liverpool moved ahead of Chelsea in signing Romeo Lavia, preparing an opening offer, who Southampton have valued at $50 million. Sure. Arsenal set to make a move for Lavia once they conclude a deal to bring in Declan Rice from West Ham. Manchester United close to completing the Marcus Rashford contract extension as they try to sign Randall Colomawani and Rasmus Højlund from Atalanta. That's also from the four-letter paper. Al Nassr made an offer to Andre Onana, who's a target for Manchester United, to get him from Inter Milan. Arsenal and Granit Xhaka will complete a £21.5 million move to Bayer Leverkusen. Three-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Chelsea's Christian Pulisic will turn down a move to Lyon this summer, as he would prefer to move to AC Milan after agreeing in principle with the Serie A club. Next time Nick is on the show, we'll talk about Tonali, we'll talk about Pulisic, we'll talk about Serie A and soccer over there. Newcastle are exploring a summer move for Sporting Lisbon center back Gonçalo Ignacio. Brighton interested in signing midfielder Mohamed Kudus from Ajax. Liverpool could face competition from Bayern Munich for the signing of midfielder Kefren Turam from Nice. Spurs trying to agree to a deal on Clement Lenglet on a 3-year deal from Barca, having had the defender on loan last year. Tottenham also edging closer to signing Wolfsburg's defender Mickey van de Ven. Wolves opening to selling 26-year-old English defender Max Kilman this summer, despite rejecting an offer from Napoli. Chelsea want to sign Callum Hudson-Odoi this summer. Nottingham Forest among the favorites to sign him. Manchester City willing to offer Atletico Madrid €15 million for winger Rodrigo Riquelme, who spent last season on loan with Girona. Leicester City exploring a move for Callum Doyle, 19, currently in the Manchester City system. Bordeaux expect Josh Meja to leave the club, as he's now a free agent, has not responded to the offer of a 1-year extension. Theo Walcott been training with Reading following his departure with Southampton, close to joining the League One side on a free. And Ben Brereton Diaz now apparently looks like he is heading to La Liga. So we'll keep an eye on that. That was an established scorer in the championship, but we'll see what happens when he leaves England. All right, Abby with a question. And the question being about George Bello and Bello possibility of him making his way to RSL. And we talked about it a little bit yesterday when Jarrett was on. RSL needs help. No real other way to put it. And while they're not at the bottom of the West, right now they need to, with 21 matches played, they're right in the thick of it. And I think that Bello would be a depth piece if it's RSL. But the biggest thing that George Bello needs to do is, A, get out of Germany, considering that Arminia Bielefeld got relegated twice. And he needs to go someplace where he can play. I know that there was initial talk, I think, of Birmingham City, I think was part of the discussion. And Let me see what the latest is. See if there's anything for Bello outside of RSL. Transfermarkt has him at RSL. Talks are opened, apparently, according to our friends at goal.com. Now he's a free agent after the back-to-back relegations. Signed a 4.5-year deal when he was heading to Europe, but the deal obviously is cut short. Other European sides also expressing interest in him, given that previous seen bids of close to $4 million were tabled to get him for nothing in 2023. According to our friends at Goal, that'd be shrewd business. And so no agreements reached yet. 7 caps with the USMNT, other offers from Europe. Signed with Bielefeld for a $2 million transfer fee. Cercle Bruges had a $3.75 million transfer offer accepted by Atlanta, but Bello wanted to go to Arminia Bielefeld. RSL looks like they might be, chasing after Bello here. 59 first-team appearances for Atlanta before moving to Bielefeld. Remember, they've also spent money on getting Chicho Arango and Nelson Palacio from Atlético Nacional. Chicho Arango from Pachuca for forward for RSL. That's a busy pickup. That's a busy pickup. So, all right. So if we're looking, so Knicks would like to see him in the championship. All right, let's take a peek at the table. Every single time you click on something, you're sitting there and you're going, I want to click on this, and it doesn't give it to you. So, all right. So in the championship, well, let's look at the table from last year. So if you're going bottom half club in the championship, here's what you're staring at. Reading, Blackpool, Wigan, relegated. So out of the discussion. Cardiff, QPR, Rotherham, Huddersfield, which would be interesting because of the recent ownership pickup of Kevin Nagel, who owns Sacramento Republic. That would be interesting. Birmingham City, who we've had ties with George Bello in the past. Stoke, Hull, Bristol City, Norwich City, who picked up Vicente Reyes. Preston North End. So that gets you, and Watford, we'll say, just because they're even on points. So a lot of former Premier League clubs, several at the bottom, porous defensively. QPR, as an example, gave up 71 goals last season. A lot of folks gave up in the 60s. Hull City 61, Huddersfield 62, Rotherham 60. And then everybody's in the 50s from there. So what you're looking at, Watford, Preston North End, Norwich, which would be interesting just because of the Atlanta United tie. No concept as to how Norwich would look. By the way, speaking of Norwich, Daniel Farke is going to be the new head coach at Leeds. Bristol City, Hull City, who doesn't spend any money. Stoke, Birmingham City, who's been interested in the past. Huddersfield, because of Kevin Nagel, does he go with the American? Rotherham, QPR, Cardiff. I could see that. I could see something like that. And by the way, we are trying to hope against hope, trying to track down Kevin Nagel for an interview now that he's picked up Huddersfield Town as a part of his portfolio. So I could see lower half of the table. So that's what you're staring at. Let's see. The other gossip, rumor, and innuendo that is going on. Let's go through. Since we mentioned the papers, we'll see what else is going on. Mason Mount, in his farewell to Chelsea ahead of the Manchester United move, said it was right for him. Once again, Bayern Munich not giving up on Harry Kane. Newcastle did sign Sandro Tonali for $55 million. Brentford has completed the club record deal for £23 million, getting Nathan Collins from Wolves, surpasses the $20 million that they spent on Kevin Schad last summer. They've now spent $55 million in the window. Brentford very, very busy. So, and apparently Steven Gerrard is eyeing Jordan Henderson, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, and Lucas Coutinho to go to El Ettifaq. Kyogo has signed a new Celtic deal. Jared is happy. Yeah, it would be a free because of double relegation. Yes, you are correct. It would be it's just out the door. You've been relegated twice. Deal's done. I'm out. So it's a safe play. You're not spending any money. And Al Ittihad has signed Jota for $25 million. So Mason Mount, who's now sporting a very, very blonde haircut, went on his Instagram account to give the message. So, yeah, Inter Milan anticipating the first official bid for Manchester United for Onana. But once again, remember, there's going to be competition from Saudi Arabia. So we're going to 4-year deal for Daniel Farka now, by the way, when it comes to Farka leading leads. Dominic Soboslai says that he got advice from Erling Haaland about the move to Liverpool. £60 million move to Liverpool from RB Leipzig. Former teammates from their Salzburg days. He says, we've talked so much so that Erling Haaland has also advised on finding real estate. It could be very well that we could become neighbors, he told Nemzeti Sport. Learned from him, several players live halfway between Manchester and Liverpool in a quiet area where privacy can be preserved. And on Monday, I'll see what he was talking about. I'm very curious. It may not be all that quiet now, Dom. Yes. Yes, Abby, I have heard that blondes have more fun. Lower division stuff, Middlesbrough signed Alex Gilbert on a 4-year deal following his departure from Brentford. Daniel Farkas says Leeds needs to be humble. Winning has to become a habit. So, first job in English football since his 4-year spell at Norwich, where he won the championship twice in 19 and 21 before being sacked 2 years ago. Appointed manager at Krasnodar in January of 22, but left after 2 months following the invasion of Ukraine. Ruben Loftus-Cheek is now doing interviews with his move to AC Milan. Swansea have signed Josh Key from Exeter in the lower divisions. Cardiff City have signed former Chelsea striker Ike Ugbo on loan from Troy. Season-long deal. Jack Butland tries to he's going to take over the number 1 spot between the sticks for Rangers. Adi Hutter has been appointed Monaco's new head coach. So, looks like Bayern is lining up a potential replacement for Daniel Neuer, monitoring Mamardashvili. Internally seen as a long-term successor, Somera Nubel considering a departure. That's why it's not excluded that Bayern will become. Manchester United's looking at Sofian Amrabat from Fiorentina. Joe Baroni was quoted as he is looking for one of those. He's looking for one of those type players, and Sofian Amrabat is filling the bill. So that's what you're staring at when it comes to transfers. And Nix and Tom are having a good conversation about Andrew Gutman. Like I said, tomorrow is the opening of the window. Tomorrow's the opening of the window. So keep an eye on it with everything going on, and we will follow through and figure out, okay, who's going where, who's doing what, those kinds of things. So obviously tomorrow's the beginning of the window. Very, very busy action tonight. And we will keep an eye on all of it for you. We'll be back normal. Let me go through the traffic before we go. It is USL Championship and USL League One programming later today. That'll be up on the networks. And get your review previews and get you ready for the action tonight. Tomorrow is normal. Hopefully Dylan Butler can join us at 10 o'clock as he always does. But it'll be Wall Pass Wednesday. We'll talk about what happened last night. We'll talk about the weekend. Anything tomorrow. So that would be last night. So we'll talk about what happens tonight. Gold Cup and MLS. Get you ready for all of that. We'll go through all of that. We'll go through anything else that's happened on the weekend that carries over to what's going on Wednesday. And then also as we go, we're going to be catching up with the 4 teams here in this part of the country, chasing after a championship in USLW. So we're going to be chasing after the folks in the Southern Conference playoffs. So we'll keep an eye on that. Thursday will be normal. Nico Moreno joining us at 10:30. Friday also normal. 9 o'clock is normal intro. Beyond Goals joining us at 9:30. It's probably, we'll see if Michael Parkhurst can convince Greg Garza to go back-to-back weeks. And then the weekend whip around at 10 o'clock, patent pending, trademark coming. We'll go over Atlanta and Montreal and go over all of that stuff as well. So that is what we're staring at for the remainder of the week. And so what I wanted to do is come on and catch up with you guys and see what was on your mind after July 4th and lay out how things are for what we've been talking about. And so, Emilio, to your point about Caleb Wiley, here's what we are looking at when it comes to the expiration dates on contracts. Here's what we're going into the window. Wiley is under contract, to answer your question, until the end of the calendar year 2025. So Caleb Wiley's around for a while. The 23s, the end of the calendar years that we have to look at here, and we'll do this and we'll wrap on this note. Ending at the end of the calendar year in 2023. Quentin Westberg, Brad Gazan, Ozzy Alonso, Clement Diop, Amar Sejdic, Mateus Osechu, Miles, Jackson Conway, Juanjo Purata's loan from Tigres, Firmino, McFadden, Andrew Gutman, Miguel Berry, and Luke Brennan, but Luke Brennan then turns into a homegrown next year. Good that King Power's back as a home kit. That's money going sideways from the Srivadana Prabha family. I'll get it straight sooner or later. But so Sri Radhavana Prabha. Thank you. God, figured it out sooner or later. But yeah, there's a lot of 23s that have to be sorted out for Atlanta United. We'll keep an eye on them, obviously, with the window. But remember, in any contract situation, if you sign someone to a deal, and we've seen this in a lot of sports, we're seeing it in England on a great deal of contracts. You're signing someone to a contract so you can control the asset. Always remember that going forward. If you sign someone to a deal, and you sign them to a deal that you may sit there and go, well, that deal, that's a long-term deal. Remember, it's to control the asset in the marketplace. You may not see that particular player from whatever team that we're talking about. You may not see that player on that roster for the entire length of the deal. It is to control the asset both in a performance sense and in a financial sense. Always remember this. Contracts are to control the asset. So when you see something like this, when you see a player signed to a deal, remember, controlling the asset. So you can control the marketplace, you can control their cap hit, and then you can work on it from there. If it works out to where individual, Mr. Individual number one with the mask, player number one, if player number one goes has a long-term contract and performs to the length of that contract to what both the player and the team are looking for, fantastic. If the team sees an opportunity to where they're in control of an asset and then once again come up with a financial benefit for sending that asset someplace else before the end of a contract, keep an eye on that too. If you have something someone else wants, what does it mean to you? So keep an eye on transactions, keep an eye on length of deals, and keep an eye on the return if a deal is done. So we'll keep an eye on a lot of folks whose contract is up at the end of the calendar year, and we went through those names. So we'll see what happens with them. Do they get signed to extensions? Do they end up spending their last calendar year? Do they end up spending their last 5 months here as a part of Atlanta United? We'll find out. Because remember, this is happening all across Major League Soccer too. This is not the only team that has players who are ending the end of the calendar year. So we'll keep an eye on all of this as we get the beginning of the window opening tomorrow. So it could get very, very crazy, and we'll keep an eye on it. But check your sources, check your sources, check your sources. Trustworthy, check your numbers, check their history. We're entering into a very important window tomorrow. The show could be a lot of breaking news. So we'll keep an eye on all of it. And I want to thank all of you guys for being a part of it too. Hopefully your July 4th goes well. Hope it continues to be safe. Hope it continues to be indoors where you're not schwitzing all over the place. Spend time with your family. Keep an eye on your pets. Keep an eye on your family itself. Be safe. And like I said, USL programming coming out later today as well. So we're going to turn this in short order. You can listen to it all over again. We'll be back at it again tomorrow morning at 9:05, normal time. Like I said, hopefully Dylan Butler will join us tomorrow morning. Thanks, Nix. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out once again. Great to see everybody this past weekend for Philadelphia, and that includes Rich Ransom. So for everybody here at SDH, yes, Abby, have a safe evening. Please do, so we can be back at it again at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, and we can talk about stuff at the beginning of the window. And since it is the end of a show, it means I get to do this. Mucha Platiel, play it safe. We'll be back at it 9:05 tomorrow morning.